Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast, where we talk about all things flute. If you're looking for more tips or lessons from Amelie, please check out musigy.com for all the sheet music, transcriptions, albums, books, and flute lesson packages. That's musigy.com, MUSOGY.com. Also, if you're looking for posters, fingering charts, or merch, you can head over at our merch store at store.theflutechannel.com for all your flute needs. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, you can also consider joining us over at Patreon for as little as $2 a month. This helps us make more great content for you. Check the description for more info. Finally, if you're looking into buying a flute, please consider using the Flute Center of New York and use our code TFC for a 10-day trial in trying 3 flutes. Check the description for all the details. Now on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Amelie.
How's it going, Amelie?
Good, how are you?
Good. So this is the last Sunday of every month. We do a live show here on YouTube for you and listen to your questions, answer your questions, and also even read one 5-star review over at Apple Podcasts or wherever you leave reviews on your podcasts. We can read one just like this one by Hari, who says 5 stars, not just for the flutists. Thank you both for your wonderful podcasts. I enjoy and learn many things from each of your episodes. I don't play flute, but I play an instrument app called GeoShred on iPad. It has flute presets, GeoFlute, GeoBass Flute, made by Swam Instruments, which produce tones almost identical to the actual instruments. The reason I listen to the flute performances and this podcast is to learn how to play GeoFlute as much close to how an actual flute is played. I'm getting educated about different flutes, techniques, challenges the artists face while playing, and also how the whole industry works from your podcasts. Well, that's pretty nice to say. Looking forward to much more such nice episodes in the future. One request I have is that whenever you are planning on an episode on world flutes, please include Bensari flute, which we will. This is going to be cool because we have some, I think. It is an instrument played and enjoyed by millions of people, both through Indian classical music and other types of music, so it's so good to introduce it to the Western world. Also, I live in Ottawa, and if any performances of Amelie are happening in either Montreal or Ottawa, please announce them in the podcast in advance so I can try to attend. Thank you, Hari, at Ragas on iPad on Instagram. Go follow him if you like electronic music and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
nice
awesome.
review.
Yeah. So today you can leave a review, and we'll try to find them. You can leave a review anywhere on Apple Podcasts and anywhere in the world, and leave 5 stars for us. It helps us out a lot, and then we'll try to read one on the podcast. So yeah, what are we going to talk about today, Amelie?
Oh, yeah, we were going to talk a little bit about why music theory is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And then we're going to answer some questions. So, yeah, I was thinking about how when you understand the language, because music is a language, and very often it's not taught as such. And when you understand it, it helps you play better and read faster and a lot of different things like that. Because sometimes we tend to teach things separately. We'll do, let's say, a course about theory and another one of your instrument. Another one is ear training, but really they're all like, it takes time, but when you get to a certain level, you integrate those things together. And I feel like when we teach our instrument, when we teach the flute privately, we could do a better job at integrating all those things together. So if you're teaching scales, it's interesting to teach the theory behind scales, that it's understanding that it's a pattern of tones and semitones, that you can start on any note. So that's why all major scales sound the same, or all minor scales sound the same. And then you can also play major and minor chords to your students, so that they can hear the difference. And, understanding what a tonic is, all those things, if you understand them, then when you play, you know what you're playing as well. And when you do a scale, you know why you're doing it. You understand transposition. So then sometimes with some students, in order to do some ear training, I give them a different scale every week, but I don't ask them to do only the scale, but also to play a simple melody in that key. So like I think it's a good thing to do. Like, try to take melodies. That's a good ear training exercise. You take a melody. It can be like Twinkle Twinkle or Three Blind Mice or like simple melodies like that. And you try to play it in every major scale. And then you can even change the mode and play it in minor, you know? And this way you really learn what a scale is, what a key is, like a tonality and all that stuff. And yeah, this way you can integrate those things together on your instrument. And yeah, that's what I was thinking about. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, adding different layers for people to understand is always important because, you know, you're teaching as a teacher, as an educator, you're trying to make the person adapt to these principles as easy as they can. So you have to have different types of different skill sets to have them adapt. So putting those things in, like, you know, adding the numeric principles on scales and stuff like that, and really, you know, adding layers can help really with that type of stuff instead of just kind of blindly going in and saying just do the scales and then, but how do these scales relate to this song, or how do these scales relate to this technique pattern that you have to now learn. You have to learn a new technical pattern for a scale that isn't just, you know, the whole scale. It's a skips or goes back and forth. Like sometimes people, they need an extra layer or a couple layers of different type of systems. I know some people, they color code. Some people, they even, like you said, you add a numeric system, so they incorporate that numeric system into the scale.
Okay.
It's all helpful, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's helpful because like then when you start doing, let's say, sight reading and you see a pattern going up, you know, like, oh, that's a G major scale, or oh, this is a scale in thirds, and like you see it faster.
Yeah.
And this way your brain is not analyzing each note, but really just the kind of drawing of that scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so when you learn theory, try to really put it at your instrument and vice versa. Like, try to integrate things together. That's what I was trying to say, basically. And also, like, use it as an ear training tool as well, because it's the goal in the end, you know, to understand the language so that you can understand it when you listen or when you want to improvise or play or stuff like that. Because if you understand in which key you are, when you have a cadence, you know, when the phrase ends on the tonic, you're going to feel that it's ending there, and you're going to play it differently than if you don't understand it. Well, there's also a lot of intuition because we know that system so well, even when we don't know it. But yeah, it's cool to understand what we're doing. So that was my little thing about theory. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Would there be like, you know, are there some things you see in beginner students that tend to help them, like that you always kind of notice helps right away with something when you teach them? Is there a specific thing that's
Well, using what they know, because like, let's say a major scale, everyone knows how it sounds, you know, like. So if you're learning new notes and you integrate them in a scale, they'll know if they're making a mistake, if they're not doing the right fingering, because if they don't do the right note, they'll hear it's not the right melody, you know, of the major scale. So using things that we all know without knowing that we know them, you know, because music is part of human beings. Like there's been studies with little babies, like I think a couple of days old. They put them in a scan to look at their brain while they put music, and they put like Bach or like tonal music. Then they put little mistakes either in harmony or in rhythm, and the baby's brains react differently when there's a mistake. So it means like this language is really part of human beings, like most of them at least. Like there's very rare cases of people who don't have that, but yeah. So I think using what we already know of the language and then bringing it that way, just in a way, you already know those things, but you don't know how they're called sometimes. So it's just learning the vocabulary that goes with what you already know.
Yeah. That's very
knowing how to
interesting.
name things.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, exactly. Huh. What would be like what would be some of the things that you again, in a beginner, for a beginner, like what are the things that you always tackle first in music theory? Just for instance.
Oh, I don't know. I guess understanding how reading works, like
Okay,
how
yeah.
well rhythm is a good one because it's pretty easy
And you don't
to
even have
read
to have that. You don't
rhythms.
have
And
anything on a page. You can do it almost orally first to kind of get them to understand.
yeah, it depends on the age of the student.
Right.
But yeah, with little kids, you'll do like a lot of um, like imitation and stuff like that, just developing their sense of rhythm. But older students maybe less of that because like usually it's already integrated in most people. But even with adults, sometimes I use like if I want to work on rhythm, I'll use walking on a beat and stuff
Right.
like that,
That's
or
pretty cool.
clapping 8 notes while you do quarter notes with your feet and stuff like for rhythm, let's say, so that it's really in the body first, and then you do it with the reading and writing. Has to be part of the body first because it's the body that's making the music.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's yeah. I thought, to motivate people because sometimes people think music theory is so boring, and it can be. But I think if you really integrate it and it makes you understand that beautiful language, then might be more interesting.
Also, like if you've neglected music theory for one reason or another, maybe during the summertime. Summertime is always a good time to kind of look at that. You can look in theory books and also maybe take a lesson on Coursera or any of those things, or take our thing. You talked a little bit about music theory in the advanced and in the
A little
beginner
bit,
book or
yeah.
two. But
I might make a course
about music theory beginners.
Yeah, that could be a fun thing.
Yeah, with adapt for people who just frankly just don't know where to look or are intimidated, as well from other systems because, it's always a huge wall if you want to look at like a RCM or any of those things and invest in a course and, do those things. It could be very, I could see how it could look a little intense for some people. But if you do it on your own pace, that's the one thing with those types of with artist skill sets. You could either, do do a skill set that you're in course that is in a time frame, or do it on your own, meaning you have an unlimited time and you can finish it at your own pace. That way you can understand it at a gradual pace instead of at a bit more, faster time frame.
And you don't need to have a crazy high level of music theory to be able to play and have fun and understand what you're doing,
Yeah, we all know that there's a lot of, videos out there and a lot of like content now with a lot of high-end theory and a lot of talking about,
very complicated
stuff and stuff, which is all great, but there's also a lot of basic stuff is always happening in modern music and in old music too. All music, there's
and
a
most
lot of
tonal music, I would say,
yeah. So don't feel that you're never gonna catch up to somebody. Just catch up to your
yeah, because
what
you can be a
satisfies
very
you.
good musician with less than that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, don't feel overwhelmed that you have to get all the way to that level. Yeah, so that's
Yeah. Anything else to close out on that about music theory? If you guys have any music theory questions or anything about that, let us know in the comments. We're gonna start answering some
or
questions.
any question.
Well, those will be coming up soon, exactly.
Yeah.
But next month, actually, in fact, so you don't have anything to close off on that?
It's good.
Great. Okay, but yeah, so next month we won't have a Flute Talk podcast. We will have a extra little episode that will be on the podcast feed only. So be sure to go and subscribe to any of your podcasting channels. We're gonna do a little bit something on the road a little bit, and then we'll be back in August with a regular episode as well.
Yeah, so
that'll be cool.
We'll be in France when we'll make the episode in France.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where we'll make it, but yeah, it'll be out though. Most likely on the last Sunday of July. Like we'll probably release it around there, so you'll see it in your podcast feed. That
but it won't be live.
No, it won't be live, and it won't be on
recorded.
YouTube. It'll just be on podcast.
Oh,
feeds.
okay, cool.
So yeah. What else is there? Yeah.
Did you read an interesting question recently?
Oh my gosh, so many questions. But like I said, leave them in the comments too. Oh, we have one, I think. Maybe. Oh yeah, here we go. Jay, just in time. Hi, I try to learn flute pieces from Tom Play. Is this a good resource to learn mimic playing from? It would be great if you could suggest an ascending difficulty list of pieces for beginners. Oh, we might do that. I'm going to talk to Tom Play, and also maybe we do a little video about it, showing the basics. I had that idea. Very good idea, though. It reminds me that I have to
It
do
is
that.
a good resource.
It is a good resource.
Because
Totally.
you can also put different speeds. You
Yeah.
can put only the flute or violin if you decide, or singer.
Some
like-
pieces offer that, yeah.
yeah,
Some don't.
and
but
then
yeah.
you can put both instruments.
right.
Then you can put only the accompaniment. So
That's
like
right.
there's, I think it's a good.
Yeah, it's a good rehearsal tool. Don't treat it like it's a performance tool too much, because it's you know, like a real person playing that part is going to have a little bit more difference of movement a little bit with musicality.
If you play with someone else,
Yeah.
both of you are going to adapt to each other. When you play with the
Exactly.
recording, you're the only one adapting, so it's a bit more difficult. But it's still like, yeah, it's a good tool.
Yeah, it's a good tool.
And I think like you can also listen to it with your music
That's
and
right.
just see where
Yeah.
the beats are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of people have been using it on their computer or on their laptop or on their tablet and stuff like that. So all those resources are good. Like they're continually adding more stuff and a lot of beginner stuff, which is great. And
they
it's
have
worth
difficulty levels written there.
Yeah, if
you
they
can
offer it.
search by
Yeah, you can search by difficulty level. There's
Yeah.
a little tab that says difficulty level. Not all pieces have various difficulty levels. Some of them are just one difficulty
Okay.
level. But a lot of them do have, you know, beginner,
But I mean, let's say you're a
intermediate,
beginner,
and stuff like
you
that.
could just search the beginner flute. Like you could
That's
go
right, you
flute,
go to flute,
beginner, and then
beginner.
you'll find a lot of music.
Yeah, and it'll show all the beginner difficulty stuff. So that's and you can go by most popular. There's a little tab there that shows most popular. But I think we'll make a little video of like top 10 or top 20 because there's a lot of beginner stuff on there, which is a pretty fabulous resource, I think. We've used it several times and it works. And there's a lot of cool little pieces like that you can play. Like there's a Furlies and, you know, there's a lot of nice little pieces like that.
Yeah, there's some pop music. There's some
Oh, yeah.
video
There's pop
game,
music too.
movie, all
It's
that
true.
stuff.
Yeah, it's true. So hopefully that helps you. I'm glad you're using the service though, because like frankly, I think there's really not anything else that sort of is at that level. I guess I know smart music is good, but it's really more for band and more for wind ensembles and stuff like that, and other types of ensembles. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, questions that we've had in the past, you know, my goodness, there's just you know, a lot of people asking about you know, flute pieces. A lot of people want to know what are, again, more beginner flute pieces. People want to know more about those types of things. I put out a poll recently of what most people like what are people's most favorite
Flute piece.
styles of music, you know, and, you know, resounding like a lot of people of our followers, they listen to a lot of classical and they listen to a lot of, a couple of people mentioned jazz, which is cool too. And TV movie soundtracks as well. And in fact, TV soundtracks and movie soundtracks were second place, which was really interesting. And pop music. So, but classical music was resounding out of several hundred votes. It's
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then a lot of people have a lot of summer goals and stuff like that. I also asked people about that 2 weeks ago about what are people's summer goals. And a lot of people want to do like boot camps and people are learning the flute during the summer, which is amazing, super fun. Like some people bought some new flutes, which is cool.
Oh, that's
And
nice. It's always exciting.
you know, but I saw a lot of stuff about daily practice. Like what I saw a couple questions about like what are some main daily practice elements that you should always incorporate in your practice every day. What are some daily principles?
Well, you know, you can segment your practice into different categories like sound. I like to do sound and articulation together, and then because sometimes we forget articulation, and it's so important because it's the beginning of your sound. Like it's the start of the note, and yeah, we should work on that. So sound and articulation, and then technique, like more finger technique, but there's also articulation in the finger technique. Let's say you do Tafanel and Gobert, there's different articulations, so that's very good to work on. And then, like after you do scales and technique exercises, you can do an etude. If you're at a higher level, maybe you do one excerpt that you work on, and then you do your repertoire. That's how I used to segment my practice.
Right.
So, yeah, and in sound, sometimes I do a little bit of intonation work too, you know. So, let's say you practice an hour, I'd say like 5 to 10 minutes on sound, then 10 mintes on technical exercises, and then 10 to 15 minutes on an etude, and the rest on your repertoire. Something roughly like that would be a good way to organize your time, I guess, you know. And but like, let's say one day you take your flute, you sound super good, and you say, oh, I'll do less of sound, you know, I'll just do a very quick warm-up, and I'm going to go directly in my music. Maybe one day you can take a part of your repertoire and turn it into your technical exercise of the day. You know, you can be creative with it as well. But if you want to build a good technique and stuff like that, it's good to have some type of structure in your practice, I feel.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like I've done that for a few years, and it really helped to build my technique and my level up. So, yeah, that can be a good way to do it. And it's kind of psychologically, it's reassuring. You know, you made this goal and you set that way of doing things, and you do it. You're kind of proud. You're happy about it. But like, it depends. Not everyone learns the same way. So if that suits you, just, yeah, that can be a good way to do things. And obviously, if you practice more, maybe just increase that. If you practice less, maybe you can turn it into a 2-day thing.
It's true.
One day on two, you do certain things, and yeah.
Victor wants to know, do you plan on buying a contrabass flute? Well,
we don't even have a bass flute yet.
No, we don't even have a bass flute. We got to start bass flute, then contra, but I think it's
then
harder
buy
to find
a
contra.
bigger house and buy an it's just a joke because it's so big.
Yeah.
Where do we put it?
Yeah. It's basically going to be a museum piece, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to put it in the case because it just takes forever, I guess, to put together and put up. Like, it's not like a regular flute. But, yeah, you know. And plus it's expensive, and plus I think there's even fewer makers now for contrabass and subcontra and all that stuff. So plus like flute choir, like we can do a whole talk about other flutes. You know, there's so many, and just not enough time to kind of really explore all of them because it's just, and more people have to compose for it. So, and see if it's an acquired taste for the public and all those types of things, because it's an intense instrument, the contra. I've tried it once or twice.
Yeah?
Have you tried it?
No, just bass flute. I've played it in orchestra, contemporary music.
There you go. Yeah. And I think you might, no, there's no bass flute in the new contemporary stuff that you have coming up. I think it's just flute.
No, flute and piccolo, I think, or next.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. But like, yeah. I'd like to have a bass flute. I think we could do some cool stuff together. Maybe a little, I don't know. I think it could be cool. But we'll see.
Yeah, bass flute, you know, it's
get one eventually.
Yeah, it's a character instrument, really, in its own way. Like, you hear it in movies and stuff like that, and it fits well in those types of situations. But
it reacts slowly, so you can't play anything on
fast.
that. You know,
everything has to be slow and
just it's
how it is. Yeah. So there's your answer. There's your answer.
Yeah, alto flute is beautiful.
Yeah. James, he wants to know, can you give tips for flute practice? We just did a little bit already, but like, what would you say for, I guess, even maybe intermediate, I guess, because you just talked a little bit about how. No, you didn't. You just talked about in general.
Just like in general, but
thanks, Victor.
Oh, thank you, Victor.
If you're here live, you'll see that Victor donated $5 on the super chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, tips about flute practice. Maybe what's your difficulty with flute practice? You know, like, do you have some difficulty motivating yourself, or is it like you don't know how to organize, or you don't know what to practice?
Right.
Or like maybe identify that, and I can help you maybe with that. How do you get stronger sound from the
Sunflower
flute?
M, Sunflower M wants to know, how do you get strong? How do you get a more, I guess, full tone from the flute? You know, stronger sound usually means tone.
Yeah. Well, okay. You need to blow a lot of air. No, but like you need to, not necessarily that much, but it's still like it's a good amount of air to play the flute, and a good amount of support with your abs. Yeah. Sometimes we forget to blow, like especially if you're a beginner and you're changing note and there's a lot of fingers that need to move. People tend to stop blowing because like it's so much for the brain to think about the fingers and blowing at the same time and all that.
Oh yeah.
So if you want a good sound, you need to blow constantly and consistently. You need to make sure that your embouchure, like the hole of the embouchure, is opened enough. you know, that it's not closed off either by your lower lip covering it or your upper lip going above it, or that the flute is so rolled in that, you know, it needs to be covered only a quarter to a third of it, and the rest needs to be open so that enough air goes inside and outside, so that you get that whistle, you know. And then I guess you can check our videos about sound. We have a lot of them about how to play in the low register, the high register, how to get rid of the air, how to have a good embouchure, how to change your embouchure. We have a lot of those types of things. So yeah, you could have some answers to your questions there as well.
Yeah. Before we answer the last couple
And
questions.
also, make sure you don't change your embouchure on each note. You know, find a good embouchure. Don't smile. That doesn't work. More straight. And don't change on each note. Some people think we talk so much about the embouchure that it must be complicated and it must be a lot of movement. It's not. You find a good position and it's pretty stable throughout the whole registers.
Little behind the screen type of stuff there. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to overthink it.
Exactly. It's
Especially
simpler than you think.
Yeah, exactly. And also just check out the other videos. She talks about those types of principles as well and all those types of things like that. So it's super cool to go and check out all of our other videos. There's so many. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. It's good. It's a good, concise look into how to do those types of segments of the flute. Before we start with the last one or two questions, if you have any diehard questions, throw them into the chat. But like I said, go and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the flute channel, where you can tip us monthly and you get a little extra content. You also get a bit of a direct message conversation with us as well, which is fun. And we're going to start adding more new things in that as well. And also, if you're listening to this on your podcast of choice, go and leave it a 5-star review for us. And that would be really helpful. And also we have Musigy, which is really great, which is our book and sheet music store, which we'll be adding some new stuff in the summer. But we have our 15 beginner flute lessons package, and also our 20 intermediate PDF and video package. Both have been selling out very, very well, and people have been really enjoying it. So you can go there and buy for a fraction of the cost, 15 lessons and 20 lessons with Amelie, how she would teach you at the very beginning, and it's really awesome. And a lot of people bought and both of them at the same time too. We've gotten lots of orders of people just go ahead and just buy both one and the other, and then they're set for quite a while. In fact, it's a lot of material, and people have been really liking it. Also, we have some sheet music as well. We've only, I think, have one piece of sheet music right now, but we're going to be adding some more stuff in the summer, which is really cool. We're going to add some Telemon, which is going to be fun. And then we also have our merch store, which is where our poster is and all of our physical stuff. And that's over at store.theflutechannel.com, store.theflutechannel.com, where you can find our fingering poster, some shirts, like the shirt Amelie is wearing and stuff, and also water bottles and Mozart concerto yoga pants and leggings and stuff. So go and check out all those things. Also, no notice for lessons open for the flute studio yet. We're going to probably send out a new thing in the end of August to see how new students can apply for private lessons.
Yeah, in August we're
going to set all
where
out.
we're at, and
Exactly. And we'll have more news about those types of things. So yeah, I think that's it for everything. If I missed anything, we'll tackle that at the end of the show. But David Talas wants to know, what is your favorite flute? The tenor, the alto? I get the soprano, I guess the bass, but I mean, maybe he means the recorders or maybe flutes, or like...
My favorite flute is my...
Yeah, concert flute.
Concert flute.
Yeah, the concert flute. Yeah. The concert flute, if you concert flute or concert C flute, Google that and you'll see what flute it is. It's also the flute in the backdrop that's on the piano there. But we have all those other flutes, which are all playable in professional model flutes. We're going to start doing more of that type of content in the fall, diving into that. It might not be released in the fall, but we're going to be definitely recording all those things and doing these a little bit long form about you learning the basics of those types of flutes and doing some fun stuff, which is really cool as well. So hopefully I answered your question. If it didn't, write us another comment, below the video, and we'll try to answer it next, not July, but we'll try to answer it in August, or come by in August here live. We do this at the end of the last Sunday of every month. And what else? Did we forget anything else? I don't think so. But yeah, that's really it. So thanks everybody so much. And we will see everybody in August, but there will be content still flowing throughout the summer. We're going to try to release 2 videos every month. And like I said, go and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts to listen to new content that we're going to try out over on that feed as well. Thanks everybody so much, and happy practicing.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, totally. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Bye everybody.
Bye.